Hurricane Melissa slamming Jamaica. And it won't be done with Jamaica after that. Cuba on alert, the Bahamas. We're also watching closely Bermuda, and some of that moisture will make it to the United States. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We take you outside right now. Live shot of Kingston, Jamaica. Man, look at the rain. So much in the way of flooding is going to be a major concern for the island of Jamaica, not only for the intense rainfall coming from the sky, but for the intense storm surge that they will be experiencing. This is one of the most intense hurricanes and the third Category 5 storm of the Atlantic so far. We've had four Category 5 hurricanes back in 2005, so it's similar to 2005. Sadly, this is going to be the most impactful out of all the storms we've had in the Atlantic season this year so far. It's impressive. Look at the symmetrical image and structure of this storm. Looks like a perfect donut. It's not encountering wind shear. It has some very warm water to work with. And as of the 5 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, the only thing that has changed is the speed. Now it's moving at 5 miles per hour. It continues its journey to the northeast as the steering mechanisms are starting to let this happen. The area of high pressure continues to break down and shift over to the east, and that will allow the storm to move over to the northeast as it is doing right now. Key messages, by the way, from the National Hurricane Center for Jamaica says this specifically: remain sheltered. Catastrophic flash flooding, landslides, and destructive winds will continue through today, causing widespread infrastructure damage, power and communication outages, and isolated communities. So total structure failure also possible as the center of the storm moves over the island. The pressure remaining at 901 millibars. This is a very powerful storm. Category 5 winds begin at 157 miles per hour. We are well above that. That's how intense this storm is, thanks to the fuel that it's working off of. Sea surface temperatures have been in the mid to upper 80s. It just needs to be about 80 degrees. The ocean heat content, which is how deep those warm waters are, is significant. We haven't had a single storm come through here to mix the water up from down lower and bring it to the surface. So this is deep, warm water. Having said that, the pressure continues to drop, the winds continue to go back up, and Sunday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the advisory, take a look at the pressure, 946 millibars, and now it has dropped 45 millibars to 901 on Tuesday. So short period of time here as it has intensified. The hurricane warnings extend to Cuba, the southeastern corner, as well as the Bahamas now. No surprise there. The center of the storm looks pretty impressive. It's about 11 to 12 miles wide. You'll notice it hasn't gone through an eye wall replacement. That may happen, which would fluctuate with intensity. The intensity would drop a bit. Does it remain Category 5 as it approaches the coast? Still a bit of a question because that eye wall looks pretty impressive. It's ventilating. It's healthy. It's just continues to move northwest. Here's the path, by the way. No, it just is going west, did a little loop-de-loop, and then continues to move now to the northwest. Jamaica, the entire island, highlighted in that yellow, those are tropical storm force winds, 40 miles per hour or greater, up to 74. They extend 195 miles from the center of the storm. So the entire island of Jamaica right now dealing with tropical storm force winds. Those winds extend into Cuba, and then as we go through this first landfall over Jamaica, we'll go to late tonight, early tomorrow morning, a second landfall for Cuba. Then we'll continue to watch to see where it goes beyond that. Maybe by Wednesday evening, a third potential landfall if it hits one of these islands. So we'll watch. You may have 3 landfalls in a matter of 3 days based on where it is. Let's see what it does in the Bahamas as well. The landfall, when it makes landfall, the center of the storm where the strongest winds are, they could reach 150 to 175 miles per hour. That would cause significant damage. Power outages widespread, as you know, and then it will take some time to get crews out there to get going and to fix things up. The airports, both of them, international airports, have been shut down. Storm surge for one of the airports there could be up to 10 feet above the runways. Then we take a look at early tomorrow morning. There we go, potentially with that second landfall right about that time frame. It is going to pick up speed at that point. So from Wednesday morning through Thursday morning and then Thursday afternoon, it'll be gone. So in a matter of 36 hours, it will travel quite a distance, considering that now it's only moving at 5 miles per hour. There's a look at the rain still to come for places like Cuba and the Bahamas, because this storm is going to have an impact beyond the Caribbean. Let's talk about that. Beyond the Caribbean, Melissa, will continue to have its impacts for places like Cuba and then Bermuda. Bermuda also has its eyes on this and watching closely to see what happens. That may happen later this week. Remember, just not long ago, October 2nd, they were bracing as well. We had a Fox weather hurricane meteorologist, Haley Meyer, was out there. We'll watch to see Bermuda by the end of the week, because at that point, like I said, we're going to see this storm pick up with speed. We'll have an area of high pressure just off to the east, a dip in the jet. Both of those steering mechanisms will help to give this a little bit of a boost, if you will, and increase the speed, forward movement. Take a look at the black lines there. That's how far it's going to move, say Thursday morning with 105-mile-per-hour winds to Friday morning. So within 24 hours, it'll travel quite a distance and at that point be closer to Bermuda. The winds, once it gets closer to Bermuda, likely to be Category 1, maybe Category 2 hurricane. And Bermuda's a tiny island. It's just a little island out in the Atlantic. It hasn't had many landfalls. I think there have been 11 so far in historic records going back. They've had close calls for sure, but direct landfalls are rare. It's a tiny little island, 21 miles long, less than 2 miles wide. The center, the consensus, does take it just to the west of the island of Bermuda. But I'll tell you what, a little wiggle on that could take that right over Bermuda. Regardless, if it is to the west, then they will experience more in the way of gusty winds and some of the strong winds and some of the heavy rain there. Bermuda for the next 5 days, likely to deal with those tropical storm force winds, 70 to 90% chance of that. What happens after that? Here's the moisture I was talking about for the northeast. We have an area of low pressure moving over portions of the southern plains today and then through the southeast tomorrow. Come Thursday, the center of the storm lifts over portions of the Great Lakes. Some of that moisture gets pulled up from what is, Melissa, at that point, perhaps Category 2. That will enhance the rainfall rates for the I-95 corridor from Boston to New York to Philly and south to D.C. When we think about this, the good news is, since it's picking up speed and this area of low pressure here is also moving a little bit faster, by the time we get into Friday afternoon, it won't be the heavy rain that we're experiencing on Thursday for the I-95 corridor across the northeast. However, with this location of this low pressure, you'll be dealing with some lake effect rain off of the northeast. But most of the I-95 corridor, by Friday evening, we'll be dealing with maybe light rain, not the deluge we may get on Thursday. There's a look at the exclusive Fox weather model. The island of Bermuda, as tiny as it is, and there's several islands, but that's the large one that everyone knows and goes to. If the center of the storm moves over this, you'll see a lot of gusty winds and heavy rain come Thursday and into Friday, and then quickly starts to lift out of here, because at this point it will be influenced by that dip off the jet and moving it out of here quickly. All right, we're continuing to track, Melissa, and this is impressive. We're going to watch this all day long throughout the next several days, but this is a view captured by the hurricane hunters right in the center of the storm. It's the stadium effect, blue sky above, the center of the storm, strong winds, powerful storms. This storm at the top, the clouds push out as the storm ventilates. It's an indication we've got a healthy, significant storm. It's a Category 5 storm right now, slamming Jamaica. Fox Weather First will be right back.
Is called Drive Yasso.